We're going to get started with our meeting 3 and just welcome again and thank you for all being here and for the work that you have contributed throughout this process. Today is kind of a milestone for our committee and just transitioning from what we've thought about. We'll continue to have final decision discussion, but see if we can come to a consensus. It may not on recommendations for both the KBE and EPSB board considerations. And so with that, we just always link ourselves back to our purpose, where we want to acknowledge that KBE and EPSB both are distinct boards with roles that are unique, but that again, there are overlapping common priorities and opportunity. And we definitely know that our retention is one of those. And so there are our norms that we have posted every time. And so I know you're all familiar with that. And so we just want to keep our norms at the forefront as we go through the review of our draft recommendations. And so, again, these are draft recommendations. We tried to bring some semblance to them, and but we will begin to orchestrate the final kind of language that we want, and it may shift in, but we just want to confirm our shared kind of agreements and work on identifying the final edit of the language. And even though as we go through the recommendations, again, they may seem broader, I think when we get to the part where the area of focus within the broader recommendation, I think is what we have discussed and all hopefully we'll have consensus around. And so everything leans back to our guiding question, which is, how does creating and experience vibrant learning environments, especially in literacy and numeracy, impact educator satisfaction and support their long-term retention in the profession? And we noted along the way that there are different levels of that and overlapping recommendations that deal with, if we deal with teachers, of course, leadership, things rise and fall with leadership, that all of those things are connected. So we've been trying to connect the pieces through the data, through the research, through just our, through the wonderful people that educate. All of us are educators and are in schools. And so our in school and in the field practice also matters, and our agency, and that's one thing that we're going to talk about, our agency within that, and the roles that we play in the perspectives also matter. So it's an alignment of, I think, both all the qualitative and the quantitative. And so, like I said, we're not going to reach Mount Everest tonight. We may just start to climb. And that's what these recommendations are. They're for the greater bodies of KBE, EPSB, and whoever we identify as partners to connect the future dots and to think about how it embraces the work that we do across our schools. And so we're hoping our deliverable tonight is our recommendations with our within our executive summary. And again, I always just like to review the research highlights. Working conditions drive retention factors. Administrative and instructional support increase teacher satisfaction. Quality, relevance, and sustainability of professional learning matters. So all of these levers we're trying to make sure are in sync and operating together for the good of student outcomes. And we know for the good of student outcomes, there must be teacher satisfaction and retention must be on the minds of the leaders, and it must be it must be seen in our schools when teachers are retained and there's vibrant learning environments. We also supported an effective literacy and numeracy initiatives, of course, provide better working conditions and higher student achievement. We've heard from the experts and we heard about what is already happening in the Commonwealth. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're going to expand upon what we're already doing. So I know it sounds redundant, but we already have great things going on. We're just going to see where we have discussed that the research aligns and that where we have seen the need and bring those together. So let's just get into it. Again, some of the things that we identified as, the root causes, I remember, were first like gaps in leadership capacity, particularly around retention and human capital practices. And so that is something that we kind of honed in on, and we know is a necessary entity to ensure that that we have our human resources and our capital in our schools that are motivated, that are high quality. That one of the things, as I was listening to the other group, I know we have I always think about the portrait of the learner. We also need the portrait of a teacher, the portrait of a principal. That's one of the things, when our SBDMs would be looking to hire, we would look at the portrait of the teacher, not just globally, but what our local school, that portrait. And I think those are things that we're looking at with our leaders as well. And so this first recommendation was about building leadership capacity to drive teacher retention and supportive working conditions. That's very broad. So let's hone into some things that we discussed. This recommendation centers on strengthening school leadership by ensuring that principals and school leaders have access to targeted professional learning and coaching focused on effective teacher retention practice. So we're not talking about any professional learning. We're talking about professional learning that hones in on those effective practices for teacher burnout, for retention strategies, for looking at their data very wisely, for understanding one of the things is when you're a principal, you're not just looking at your school for the day, for right now. You're looking at what are the projections for the future. You're always looking to the future about, the talent that comes in and what your needs are. And so I think it's important for us to understand, as leaders, as principals, we cannot recruit our way out of the kind of teacher shortage crisis, that we have to retain and bring on new talent. One of the best professional learnings that I had, I remember at Ashland Elementary, was about having the kittens, the cougars, and the lions. All of those on the continuum are important. The early teachers, the mid-career, and those lions, those veteran teachers, or those experienced teachers. And each one of those pieces was important to the whole body of the school. And so going a little closer, so when we talk about this leadership capacity, we're really talking about school leader retention focus, professional activities that focus on retention awareness. I think we would be surprised. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because time, and like we've had time to delve into this research and really, but when you're in a school and there is everything happening all at once, all the plates are turning, it sometimes we might not have the capacity or time to really have that awareness around our data and really understand all the strategies that are available for us to support teachers staying in their schools. Using our impact data, using exit surveys, using state interviews, that may not be in their purview. That's not something that we get in our is something I did not get in my administrative prep program. And so retention analysis, understanding their data and working with retention tools and practices that align with their goals. And so that, again, goes back to that local control and that understanding that everything that we do, the rubber meets the road at the local level. We can, say statewide what it looks like, but it really matters for you locally in your school. And so within that, looking at, we already have a P3 team and that provides support. So is there something that we could go back to our P3 team and say, we really think. And we've started that process. but I think just really intentional. We started that process because we started talking about retention together with our recruitment team and our P3 team. But I think one of the things that we talked about is really focusing in on that and making that aware and making that a part, hopefully, of some type of series or just something that people can get both as professional learning, but targeted supports. Sometimes I just need focus on my school and professional learning that is really a narrow to my situation, because I'm in an urban situation, I'm in a rural situation, I'm in a all kinds of different circumstances that binds the local school. And I also think the focus where we hone in on this is the proactive, intentional well-being support. And sometimes we think we're doing that, but having just that cadre of ideas and focus and others that have like researched it and understand the data that this is what will give you high impact. This is what will give you immediate impact. And this is what long term is going to be a process and that you build upon in your system. And I think so preparing and training leaders to recognize and address signs of teacher burnout while ensuring manageable workloads is crucial for long-term retention. And I think we've talked about that each time that we have been together. And so that is, and again, just related it back to the research, and I'm not going to read the research to you, you've read it, but it is here for you. All of this relates back to that the administrative support in school leadership is among the strongest predictors of whether teachers stay or leave the profession. And so again and again in the research, we know that it was redundant in that literature. And so with that, hopefully our expected outcomes are just their improved working conditions, that there's stronger school culture because leaders are focused on the retention and the retention data, and that they are looking at all areas of the continuum in the teaching profession, that they're looking at the 1 to 5. When I look at the professional learning and coaching and feedback, 1 to 5 say we're getting it, because we know that early teachers need that, and a lot of them are saying they're getting that. But then that mid-career and that long-term career, we kind of see a fall off of that of being attended to in their needs for them to stay in the profession. So we have the data, we have the qualitative, we've had our discussions. So what is clear and actionable for us in this recommendation? What is missing or unclear? And does this align with our guiding question, the data, and our findings? And so I'm going to stop talking because I'm just a facilitator. This is really about what this committee wishes to bring forth to their respective boards. And it may be that we roll back and just say, we want further development of these things, retention tools, working with P3. And so I'm going to stop there, and I'll just go back to I kind of stop here, but okay. I want to hear from you, your thoughts. Is our recommendation that good and that solid? Wait time is important. You're thinking, you're processing. So take your time. Take your time I'm not rushing you to answer.
Vita, if you could go back to the first recommendation slide,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. I thought about this one. And your third question on the discussion point is, how does it align with our charge around vibrant learning?
Yes.
And so I think about vibrant learning, literacy, and numeracy, I think if somebody read this recommendation, they might not see that in it.
Okay.
Sorry, my husband's phone's gone off. They might not see that as clearly. So I think maybe just a little tweak there might be something like ensuring that principals and school leaders have access to targeted professional and learning focused on effective teacher retention practice. No, maybe it's under the professional learning section. I'm wondering if we
Okay.
can get with an emphasis on literacy, numeracy, and vibrant
Okay.
learning across the curriculum so that we
Yes. Okay.
write in a direct link to our vibrant learning, literacy, numeracy charge.
Mhm.
That's just one thought.
Okay.
And then I had a question for Terrell. Did we get responses to the survey about recommendations from the committee? And have those all been incorporated in what you guys are presenting?
So in regards to the Padlet, I'm gonna be honest with you. Your recommendation was the only recommendation that was
Okay.
made.
And they were
Um,
embedded, yes, and they were
yes.
embedded, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries. We could
And then we
still
got
talk about it
and then we
tonight.
got
That's fine.
we got another one today about our second recommendation. And I told Jarvis, wow, because I had already added that in and it was confirmation. And I'll talk about that later from, I think was Priscilla that had an additional kind of tweak that she wanted to make sure was included tonight because she couldn't be here.
Apologies, Jarvis. I didn't mean to call you by your last name.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think people confuse it all the time. So
Sorry. Two
yeah,
last
no
names.
worries.
Two first.
But we've made note of ensuring that this ties back to numeracy, literacy and numeracy in a direct way.
Maybe to help with that, just to give
Okay.
some context and
Mhm.
maybe coherence with all of it.
Mhm.
I have a team of principal coaches in the Division of Early Literacy that's working with principals in the field. There's 8 of them. We call them regional principal supports
Okay.
leaders.
Mhm.
So something that has really helped principals in the field, the feedback that we have gotten is really thinking at a system level,
Mhm.
systems and structure level, that they can implement. The retention for teachers, I think, comes in the research that I have seen when principals remove barriers from the teachers' plates and allows them to have the good coaching that you're talking about, allows them to have that feedback, allows them to have time and energy and availability of PLCs so they can get into their content, into the literacy and numeracy content. So that might be something that might be helpful when you're kind of thinking about the professional learning portion.
Yes.
How can we equip principals with system and structure learning or professional development that would help them build that out for vibrant learning, if that makes any sense. But I know
It does
a
make
lot of
sense. It kind of goes to back, like understanding the burnout and the manageable load, but kind of, like you said, putting it back to, I need a system to create the opportunities for this vibrant learning and vibrant teaching cohort to exist, where the learning is moving it forward.
I wonder, Christy, if maybe on that key component slide that Jarvis just put up, maybe another key component would be a statement like that, that captures that idea along with the supporting school leaders and their ability to better understand retention and their ability to better understand well-being and support. That could be a third bucket for us.
Okay.
And use your group as a model.
Yeah. And so maybe I'll touch base once we kind of tweak the third component and come back to you for some support in the language. Because I like the language that you used.
And not to pile on more.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. We're in a process. It's not
yeah,
finalized.
Sure. One thing too that comes to my mind that we really work with principals on is building their capacity to give good feedback. And in order to give feedback and coach teachers, they have to be equipped with that knowledge around the learning that's happening in their building. And I think that is a really sometimes a missing key component in administrators not realizing that they have to be the lead learner in their building and be that coach for their teachers.
Yes, I
So
agree.
something about that,
feedback.
equipping principals with the ability, the knowledge to give them good feedback.
Mhm. Yeah.
Our RPSLs use our IPG tools around numeracy and literacy to kind of give that feedback, and they equip principals to do that as well. So I
So I
think,
think that really fixes my problem, Christy. I
okay.
think if
And-
one of those key components is
Mhm.
providing professional learning for principals to provide support and feedback around high quality literacy, numeracy, and vibrant learning,
Yeah.
then I think then we can still put it in the recommendation. Redundancy is kind of a good thing in these
I agree.
pieces. And I failed to compliment Vita and Jarvis around the fact that you really did get this brief and pithy and to the point. And I think it's a really helpful outcome. So I think
Thank
that's
you.
great.
Appreciate that.
My last question, I really will hush,
Mhm.
is
No, you're fine.
we can't see the other two committees work. So I guess there's a side of me that worries maybe a little bit. We don't want everybody piling on principles in
Well,
it.
I think the hope is that once all three committees come together, that we will see where we,
Okay.
because leadership, I think, is a theme that ran through the three committees. And we're talking about collapsing that into one. So no, we
Okay.
don't want all the burden to be there, but we
Okay.
want to, but I think it's important that that was a recurring theme through all the committees. So we know that that really is affirming that is a necessary lever that we need to work
So
with. So I think
will there be a convening of all three committees when the
I
final
believe
draft
that
or
is
when
I
the
believe
draft
that
is
is
ready?
in the works. I believe that
Okay.
is in the works. So that's something we'll go back to. And I was listening to the other committee, and I think that is something that is in the works, that all three committees will then look at the combined work, because we felt like there was overlap, but we didn't want to disacknowledge that,
Right.
because it's important to acknowledge that, because it just affirms and confirms and reaffirms what we're talking about as far as the leadership. But we don't want to,
Sure.
I as a leader know you can do about three things. And so like thinking how we collapse that into one productive activity around leadership, or how we, tweak it to come together. So I think that has always kind of been the plan, that we would come together and see how it overlaps and how it intertwines, and how each person has a piece that adds to the overall wealth and health of the recommendation. So I think like we have some semblance, and and like I said, I may reach out to with the language, but we've caught the language to add to make us, I think most of us feel comfortable with it being broad, but understanding our emphasis is in those key component areas, and that we want to name again vibrant learning and literacy and numeracy, even within our leadership capacity recommendation.
So I feel certain Nora, Chelsea, and Daniel probably have some thoughts on that, though.
Okay. I can't see them, so please
okay.
share anything you would like. I have good wait time.
Of course, as a student coming from a rural district, like I think something where the emphasis can be like, of course, administrative support, like being one of the key like facets of teachers getting like some kind of area where they're able to have somebody to talk to, or always have like a friend in the school system, especially an administrator. Like I know, I don't know how other schools do it, but we have a principal and two assistant principals. So I know they're all three patrolling the place, coming around, checking in on teachers, saying hello, like just trying to communicate with them all the time. And I think they're doing a really good job in like trying to do those things. And I think an overall focus, something similar to this, where if we see something like teacher burnout, because that is a real thing, and that is something that really does need to be acknowledged, because I feel like some people may just gloss over that, and it's not something to gloss over. It's instead something where you have to take it seriously, and you have to have these resources where you can get back going and doing better than ever. And I think it's so important for for those teachers to have that. And I already see some of the signs of similar things like this in my school system. So I'm just really happy about that. And I hope it can just continue to expand and like have like a snowball effect into all these other
Sure.
school systems.
So I love that, Daniel. And that makes me think on that second one that's on the
Mhm.
screen now, maybe we should capture that idea from Daniel that we actually say in there something about not just recognizing signs of teacher burnout, ensuring manageable workloads, but supporting teacher well-being, like
Yeah.
actually include their well-being. Well, I guess it's in the title.
It is in the
Um,
title, but also maybe, you know, and having, you know, and to Daniel's point, having a plan for that, having that collegial support. I like that. Very, very wise beyond your years, and that you recognize that very early. That's wonderful. So thank you for
Yeah.
your input there.
And I believe
So-
also like if,
Mhm.
oh, sorry, you can go.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so if we're gonna have well-being as one of those like key pillars, it wouldn't be the overall like general idea because we're gonna also focus on vibrant learning opportunities and try to hit on like the specifics of that and how teachers are supporting in that as well as well-being. So I believe if we can have a two or a three-pronged approach where we're able to really emphasize on a few of these things that we're really passionate about. And I think well-being support, burnout, whatever we want to call it, I think that has to be one of them.
Yeah, and I like always putting things in the affirmative. So I'll think about
Yeah.
burnout, but I think when we put it in the affirmative, it doesn't feel like an attack sometimes, you know. So
Yeah, I agree.
I really like affirmative words, and you reminded me of that. So thank you. So
Yeah, flip
I-
that
I-
around.
yes, I
Preparing,
like
training leaders to
affirmative.
to better
Yes.
support teacher
Yes.
well-being while recognizing signs of
Yes,
teacher burnout.
I don't want to be a
and,
negative
yeah,
Ninny.
ensuring-
Affirmative
yeah.
language is very important to me. So yeah.
And Vita, I don't know if you can see her, but Nora has her hand up.
I cannot see, but please,
Okay.
Nora, let me hear from you.
I think it's Nikki, but I will talk to you after
Okay,
her.
okay. I
Oh,
can't
sorry.
see. Sorry.
Hi, as a principal, I think what Daniel talked about goes right along with the systems approach that Christy was talking
Mhm,
about
mhm.
when we
Agreed.
have those new teacher cohorts in our buildings, in our districts, so that we're supporting teachers from day one and they don't feel like they're on an island by themselves. You know, we have like an onboarding process in my building that we help teachers from day one. And I also think that principals need some professional learning around those vibrant learning experiences, because this is all new to us, and what is appropriate as a vibrant learning in regards to the standards.
And I think, and to your point, thank you. You reaffirmed we're capturing that, and we're going to add that third pillar to that. And so I've just captured the language that you had as well. So that will be a part of our prong here. We'll have a third component, and it's around that vibrant learning piece and systems support that we talked about.
And I
So
got my
thank you
Nikki
for
and
that.
Nora mixed up.
Okay.
We're both ends. I did go through and look, and you had completed it before I had a chance to put any comments, and I did not see a way to make it better. I do think we've captured the learning and the literacy and the math part very effectively, and even the other things being mentioned. I do personally feel in my district that has been a focus for years. So I feel like we're already in a strong place there, even with the mentorship program. When KTIP ended, we found a way to continue that, and we've done letters and we've done numeracy. We have grants going on. So the one area I personally in the western side of the state hear over and over again, whether it's a KEA meeting or the ESS programs that we're having to run, and I wonder if we're not missing is the social, I don't know the right word to say, the trauma and the social needs of my first graders are like no other. I mean, as a 21-year teacher, there were a couple weeks at the beginning of the year I was literally outside on the red bench crying, like, and I don't cry even when people die. How am I ever going to be the teacher these kids need? Because academically, They were ready for first grade, and I had all the tools academically to teach them reading and to teach them writing. And even though I'd been teaching for 21 years, I revamped everything with reading through letters and went through the numeracy project because that was never a strength for me. I still would not say math is my strength, but they continue to have offerings for that. But these kids are dealing with trauma. These kids are dealing with social skills from COVID. And I know you're sick of it, but if you come to my first grade class, I have 14 kids with some kind of plan. And it's a lot of social needs. We don't have a social emotional curriculum in place. And I'm on the KSID team and we're really looking at things. But all of my peers, the ongoing stress, the ongoing behaviors, the ongoing, man, I don't know if I can come back tomorrow. It's coming from it's not the academic that is the number one issue. We have those tools in our toolbox. We keep getting more and better and refined tools to be the best teacher we can academically, but some of those social and well-being of the students, which directly affect the well-being of your educators. And I don't know how to get that in there, but I just want to put that in the room.
I acknowledge it.
I hear that stress
real.
too, Nora. It makes me think of some research. I can't remember if we looked at it in this group or something that I did at the university recently, but this idea that teacher self-efficacy is pretty highly correlated with teacher well-being. And maybe that can go into this intentional well-being support, because when a teacher feels like I can't make a difference, I can't go back tomorrow, that's, it's a fuse for burnout. So if we can capture that language and provide the research base for that as well, or it may have been in the stuff I read here, how it all kind of runs together. So
yeah, and I hear you. I hear you as someone who worked in a high stress environment, and recently,
yes, you did.
and recently I was teaching in a Saturday program with K through 5, and I saw I am like, as you were talking, I was looking at those kids because yes, and it is real, and the secondary trauma that I experience is real, and I'm just working on it, on the weekend and in the evenings helping these students, and yeah, it's real. So I just want to acknowledge that, even though I don't have an answer for it tonight, because if I did, I would not be at KDE. I'd have my own company. So maybe I'll work on that too.
On the lower level, though, literacy is the area I can continue to get those lessons in, because the kids that I had at the beginning of the year, and that's every year, but this year we have like 8 weeks of school left, and they have come so far, and the parents are like, what is your superpower? And the administrator's like, how did you get them to walk in a line? And like literally asking me questions like this, like, what did you do to get him to be respectful? But it was purposely putting that into my curriculum, whether it was a literacy activity or a social skills activity or a social studies lesson. I had to figure out where that fit in. And I feel like if we're purposely looking at this, it is a part of literacy, choosing books that really meet the needs of the kids.
Amen. Yeah.
And where they are and what they need to grow.
Yeah. I
And
appreciate
if I
that.
can just, if I can just touch on something,
Yeah.
I think part of what Nora is saying, also, I can kind of relate to that when I was in the classroom as well. But one thing that I have seen that administration tends to do sometimes, when you are a teacher who is very strong in certain areas that can, let's say, for instance, let's take Nora. She was able to get the kids to walk in a straight line. The kids that no one thought would be able to do that. Next year, she may get more of those kids and more of those kids. And that will also contribute to eventually being to the point where you burn out, So I think addressing that with administrators, like, just because this teacher was able to handle these things better, that doesn't mean give her more. Maybe we take the tools that Nora has and use that as professional learning for the other teachers, and still allow Nora some room to breathe as well. Because I think that is a major issue that I see in schools. I've seen it in the schools that I worked in. If one teacher is better with, a certain group of kids, they tend to get more of them. And, because it's kind of thrown on them as, because you're this great teacher, you get this, they tend not to say anything. But, deep down inside and behind the scenes, they're crying for help too. Like I want to breathe too. So yeah,
Yeah, I
just
think
to kind
that's
of
a
touch on what Nora said.
good reality check. And I think on on the slide there, when we talk about manageable workloads,
Mhm.
really kind of unpacking that in more detail to Jarvis and Nora's point. Manageable workloads doesn't just mean class sizes, and it doesn't just mean students with IEPs. It means manageable workloads. How much time do they have to collaborate? How much planning time
Yes,
do they have?
yes,
Really thinking about that in an unpacked way.
absolutely. All right. Any other comments?
I just want to chime in. I apologize. I'm not on video. I'm calling in from my phone this evening, but I'm listening in on this and kind of focusing in on these two words, professional activity. And I think for leaders, but also the teachers, don't want to lose sight of, I think it's been mentioned before, but the vibrant learning experiences definition that we often operate from, I think holds true for the adult learners in our system as well. And so as I heard Jarvis talk about,
Yes.
that using authentic, meaningful collaboration with our teachers to uplift and share their lessons learned and their best practices, I feel like that brings in a great opportunity for us to refine what we mean by professional activity so that we're providing rich, authentic learning experiences for our leaders and our educators within that system.
Sarah, they
And
took
that
my
kind of-
reaction button away again, or I would be hearting that.
and that kind of,
well, and that definition starts with in partnership with families and communities.
yes.
And I remember when we created that definition, there was some real tension in the room of why aren't educators in that statement. And so I almost think now it's almost a flip to, for our educators, it's in partnership with families and communities, because it takes that village to really help our teachers with their well-being and ultimately the social emotional support of our students as well.
And thank you, because I feel like that kind of bridges us to kind of our next recommendation too, because it is focused on that vibrant teaching and that teacher. And so I think I want to get to our kind of our key components on that, because I think you guys are going to lean in on this and give us better language around it. So recommendation 1 is not finalized, and I feel like we have some the structure to be able to add the things in that we've just talked about to make it feel solid for us, and you'll get a copy of that. So if there's any other language that needs to be tweaked, we still have time. So it's not that I'm rushing us on, it's that I feel like we have what we need to make that solid for us to all come to a consensus. And if I'm wrong, somebody yell at me. Okay. Recommendation 2, and I want to acknowledge I am so glad to have our vibrant learning team and our directors with us. Really, we talked about it in our teams, like they shared with us over the past 2 committee meetings, and I learned a lot. I thought it was very helpful to this work to have these experts on our team. And so we already acknowledge you guys are rocking it out. There is a lot going on. There is a lot that's already happening. There is solid work. We saw, numbers and how it's growing. And we understand that we're all striving for perfection, but we're not there yet, because it's not happening in every classroom in the Commonwealth. So we acknowledge that, but we acknowledge that there is good work, good foundational work that has been done, is being done, and will continue to be done. And so I just want to acknowledge that as we talk, because this is a broad definition, but we're going to bring it a little closer to the areas that that we again lifted out, I believe, every single time. So expanded vibrant learning through high quality, vibrant teaching practices and professional learning, allowing the teacher choice and voice to be elevated, along with access and opportunity for all educators in the Commonwealth to participate regardless of geographic location. This recommendation proposes expanded vibrant learning as a defining characteristic of every classroom. So I think this is kind of where we already are doing that. It's been defined. I want to get to so I'm not going to bore you with all of that, but I want to get to kind of our key components and help us to build this out. So really, I just kept trying to think about the word around, really, even I know that there is the professional learning that is happening. Also, again, that tiered approach, because we need that professional learning that is personalized to us in our situation and our geographic location and our grade level, our content. And so if we expect vibrant learning in every class, we must ensure that every educator experiences vibrant learning, and someone spoke to this, in their own professional growth and learning opportunities. And I'm just going to hallelujah that, because there were so many times that the professional learning, I walked away and was like, it was good. It's a one and done. I'm going to have to go out and seek something for myself as a library media specialist, or as a reading interventionist, or as the literacy curriculum person. So this recommendation positions Kentucky to strengthen instructional practice, support educators, improve retention through a clear, actionable, and scalable approach for teacher choice in professional learning. So what opportunities do we have to have? Yes, everybody needs this, but now we're going to personalize it. I always had hoped there would be a menu of professional learning. I tried to do that practice in my principalship. There would be, everybody's required to do this, but on those days, but then these are the opportunities around the different areas that you can choose for yourself. And I was only able to, hold like 4 different professional learnings in the day in little pockets, but I got such great feedback from that. And then teacher agency, the elevation of authenticity for teacher instructional practice. And that's where we go back to that creativity and allowing the teacher to be in the learning, like to be in the instruction, to be in there's a certain way I like to teach. Not everybody's going to love it, but I still need to be authentic. And, I may want to bring a song into the classroom. I got a HQRR, but, somehow I want to connect it to something else. So how do we allow for that creativity? Because I always reminded my teachers, this is the floor. You take it to the moon. This is what's required, but you be you in it. And I think I've heard again, and I've heard several times our professionals, our experts say, once they have the understanding and know that they can, that this, yes, it may be scripted, but if you're monotone and if you're not snapping and if you don't have the engagement there, it's still not going to be that vibrant learning environment. And then teacher efficacy and retention, just that data collection. I think we've talked about it, like we know you're going to collect it. So we're just maybe putting it in words, like the data collection of participation in high quality, vibrant professional learning and development, and how it connects to student achievement outcomes and the retention rate of teachers over time in Kentucky's. We read other states that had data around that. I can't wait to see over the long haul. And I think, there's some early data and some early indications, but I think this is kind of a longer drawn out goal, because it's going to take time. And so that's what's being proposed. And now I'm going to silence myself for your thoughts and your tweaking of this, and what again, if you want to, and there's the evidence. There's the impact. Is this clear? And actually, is there anything missing, or does this align with our guiding question data and findings? So I'll go back to which would you like? Would you like the draft, that? Because that's kind of, we can tweak that as well. But I think once we have the key components, I think it's easier to go back and draft the language.
I just want to say I appreciate the high expectation language you have there. I think that's very important. I think, folks who are becoming more familiar with this concept of vibrant learning often think that it's at the expense of rigor and high expectation. And so I think that including that along with the other language here is really a strategic move that I think is important.
I liked all of the whole conversation. I think it goes to Sarah's point earlier of vibrant learning for kids is a result of vibrant professional learning experiences of teachers more often than not. And I think you did a really good job capturing the conversation that Mickey and I had at the first meeting around agency as a foil to teachers who, internalize, misunderstand the notion of implementing with fidelity. I'm wondering about the third one, teacher efficacy. This sounds like an impact one, and you said it was a longer term. That makes me go back to the beginning and wonder if we need to have something in our charge or our overarching statement about kind of the long range impact of this is to improve teacher efficacy and thereby improve retention. Maybe I missed it, but I'm looking back at the one pager and I don't see that earlier, but I think that's an important link. You've heard me say it twice tonight, so I won't say it again, but efficacy is a multifaceted, complex kind of a notion, but
Okay.
we've danced all around it in this. I think we're getting there.
Okay. We'll go back and kind of tweak that language and see if it, like I said, makes us all feel comfortable with how we talk about that long range, like I said, efficacy over time. And
to Nora's point,
it's
nobody wants to keep going
multifaceted,
in and day out if they're not making a difference.
Yes.
If they don't feel like they're making a difference.
That's teacher satisfaction. That goes back to our question. We're hitting on it. We're getting there. Mm-hmm.
My brain is wanting to put something about the personalized PD, like the coherence of. I think what we find again and again in the field is when the professional, 'cause at the very end, it says, teacher choice and professional learning. And I think that's important.
Yes.
But I also feel like it's important that the professional learning is coherent to what they're doing in the classroom in terms of, and let me give you an example, like when they have good, solid, what we call curriculum-based professional learning, then that directly correlates with what they are teaching, which then allows them to have that voice and authenticity in the teacher agency. So I feel like that might be missing in the PD portion. That would allow for that agency, because really, the curriculum, a lot of the curriculums are outlined for them. And I'm sorry, I had to go to the restroom, and then I come back on the very end of that you all were talking about scripts. But I think that when it is connected to the curriculum that they are teaching, when that professional learning has a direct impact on what they are doing in their classrooms, then it's more relevant, and it helps also to support, their overall efficiency. I think Nora was speaking to it earlier when she was talking about literacy in her classroom and how, that she impacts her children in literacy, and that makes teachers feel like, that's our calling. So when we see our kids doing well and they're impacted by our instruction, then we feel good about what we're doing and our purpose. So
I think you're talking about balance, Christy. I think it is about finding a balanced approach to professional learning and teacher autonomy. And so that they do, because Vita used the analogy of a menu, and I've had people say to me, well, is it a Cheesecake Factory menu? Where there's everything in the world and it's literally 20 pages long, or is it a Waffle House menu? So I shouldn't have compared two different qualities of restaurants.
But really defined. I like Waffle House. Anyway.
Yeah, listen, but the idea there being, it really is about a balance. And right now we're the general
Definitely.
malaise in the field is that we're too imbalanced on the side of school goals equal teacher goals equal very little choice.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, what we're really seeking is a professional learning context and environment ecosystem where the professional learning is defined based on the autonomous needs of the professional learner,
Mm-hmm.
and that she has a lot of choice in that. So
Right.
I'm with
um,
you. That's where
it's not a binary continuum. Like you don't just do HQIR or do vibrant learning.
Sure.
You don't just do one kind of professional learning or another kind of professional learning. So really thinking about that ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
I
And it
think-
definitely is an ecosystem.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
I think just
Yeah.
including as a choice for me personally, it makes me feel as a leader when I'm given opportunities to teach my peers. And for me, with 21 years of PD experience, some of the best PDs have been teacher led through Murray State at
Yeah.
the summit or through the co-op or through, and we've gotten away from a lot of those because there's been a heavy push towards research based and make sure, and I don't think that any of that is ineffective, but just putting in there somewhere, including opportunities to lead their peers or learn from their peers, just giving that okay to administrators and district levels, because we've honestly, I've seen a lot of areas get rid of that to where summits and teacher-led PDs are just fizzling away. And not only did it make me feel like a leader being able to do that, like KRP's gone and the writing project's gone, and just all these teacher-led PDs are really just no more for lots of different reasons. But I can remember many where I was like, this is like a young 5-year teacher and she's on fire, and I want to get that fire back. Just some strategy she had, or especially technology. I want these younger ones who are good with Canva or whatever to teach me because I don't have the experience that they do. So I think just giving the okay in here, teacher led, is we're professionals. We're included in that professional learning.
I noted that. That's a good point.
I think the word that ties all of that together, Lou, and with what you were saying and in terms of what I was saying, is relevant. Like
Relevant,
it
yes.
needs to be relevant. Like it needs to
Yes.
be relevant to what they're teaching. It needs to be relevant to what they're
Timely.
doing. It needs to be
Yes.
relevant to their needs. I think maybe relevant might be a good
The word, yeah. Okay.
attachment there.
I think I agree totally, Christine. I think timely and relevant. So this is going to freak Meredith out if she's listening, but this could even lead to long-range regulatory reconsiderations of things like 4 professional PD days in statute and 21 professional development credit hours. I mean, I think it really challenges the ecosystem in that relevant and timely, can't happen 4 days in a year. At least it doesn't happen very well. So, and you can't see him, Vita, but I think Daniel has a question on
Okay,
his face.
All right.
If
Yes,
not,
sir.
no worries.
Didn't have any questions, but I do want to add that I think looking over this slide specifically, I believe it's a really strong and I believe it's a really positive thing that we could put out if this is in the what draft we select or what recommendation we select. I believe this is really strong in making sure many of our areas are covered, because mainly focusing on our teachers, their well-being, but also about the efficacy throughout their work and their peers around them, and helping out their students, getting their administrators involved. I believe this is kind of more towards what I would have saw a recommendation becoming, and I really do like all of this that's on here. But no, I don't have any additional questions. This is
Yeah.
just really good. Yeah.
That's a good
Good.
observation.
We want you to have consensus. You're an important,
Yeah.
you're a very, very important part of this process, and your
That's
voice
right.
matters. So that you feel strong about it makes me feel even better.
And Nikki, anything to add?
I do like the teacher choice and it being relevant because everyone's professional growth needs are different. And that way the professional learning is meaningful to them and will impact their classroom, and it's not just a compliance piece. A lot of times our teachers just do the professional development because that's what's being offered just to get those hours in.
Yeah, compliance versus bringing that vibrant teaching and vibrant instruction and that vibrant learning. Again, I think it goes back to, did we align the data with our findings and vibrant learning? And to Daniel's point, I think we did pretty good. I'm feeling much better. I think we have some tweaking to do. And tweaking it to do along the way. But I love the language that I've heard here tonight. I've highlighted some words that really stood out that can strengthen our key components. We're definitely adding a third component to the first one, just including timely and relevance to these components, and then and then we will be able to send these out to you again for just a final review and consensus. So we won't have just our total. I feel like we have a consensus that we're all in the same ballpark. We're all in the legend field, and we're all agreeing that this is moving towards the language that we desire. And then hopefully once we have the other two committees, we will see how our work aligns with their work, or how maybe we have special parts of it that they didn't think about. And so we want to maintain, our emphasis areas and what we've discussed. And we've tried to weave through our conversations what did the data keep saying, and what did we acknowledge that we see in practice, and what do we acknowledge even that we've experienced, and what also align to the work that our mission and the scope of our question around vibrant learning and literacy and numeracy and teacher satisfaction and retention. And we didn't make it to the mountaintop. I think we're about a quarter way there, because this work, I think we're proposing recommendations, but there may be one part of this that it clicks with EPSB, and they say, yes, let's think more about this and how this relates to us. Or that KDE says, we're already doing a lot of this, but have we really honed in on this? So I'm hoping that is, what comes later after, we have finalized all of this. And so to that point, I just want you to know that we'll have timeline and deliverables to you. Of course, summary of meeting notes, final edits. I'm going to try my best to get those done on spring break next week with my grandkids. Yay. And so we'll try to work on that tomorrow and the rest of this week to try to get you something by the time I leave, because you'll have a week, and I promise you I will not be looking at it next week at all. So you have fun with that, and then we'll. Then I think the next thing that was left out of here, and I think that we've come to the realization that all three committees in some way you need to unite to, and we'll work out the logistics of that to talk about our recommendations, and so that we can see where we overlap and where we have very unique nuances.
Rita,
and
I
then
know everybody thought we were just
Yes.
about to get out of here early.
Yeah,
Just
no,
one other
you're
thought.
fine.
Could
Okay.
could you go back to slide 17 for just a
Okay,
second?
no problem.
I want to capture Nora's, oh, no, that's not the right one. The
Oh,
slide
okay,
with the
okay.
components on it.
Okay. Oh,
Sorry.
components. Okay.
There we go. I want
Okay.
to capture Nora's
Mhm.
notion in that personalized PD section. I think is where it fits the best.
With
When we
her.
talk about this practice, somewhere in there, just wherever it fits,
Uh-huh.
including opportunities for collaborative teacher-led professional learning?
That was one
as
of
an
the words
explicit-
that
okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you reminded me, but that's one of the words that I circled. Relevant, timely, coherence, I circled, and the teacher-led PD. Those are 3 words on
Okay.
my right now that I've circled. So
Okay,
you
yeah,
said
opportunities. It's not like
collaborative,
not everyone is a collaborative teacher-led
teacher,
professional development, but
led.
collaboration is one of the
Yeah.
highest
And
forms.
maybe we, give examples, and that's one that we give, maybe, or how.
Yeah.
We'll think about
yes.
that. We'll think about that. How to
Okay,
approach
sorry,
it.
I just missed that when you were going
No,
back
no,
over
no,
the
no,
notes.
you're, no,
I am
that's good.
totally
I'm glad you
finished.
brought it back to the forefront. Though there's just certain words that stood out to me tonight. And so I've circled those. And so we want to, like I said, circle back and make sure that it has the language that you desire. So we're not rushing this. So just know that we will take time with this. So I'm just trying to be efficient with your time.
No, that's great. Sorry.
No, you're perfect. I'm glad you did. And so just with the next step, and even when we get to the end, if there's something else that we need to, we still have time. And so, but yes, so I think that's the next thing. And then again, I just wanted to go back to, this is ongoing collaboration and feedback. This will, go into other hands where they, and once we get with other educators, we all have great ideas. They may see bits and pieces that they want to focus on. It. We don't know how it's going to develop. And that's the beauty of this. This is action research. And this is the beauty of this is we make recommendations, but we're hoping that it is a catalyst for some more actionable items and supports into that different process owners. And so that's what we hope will transpire out there in the bigger wide world of KBE and EPSB and throughout the Commonwealth. And then I just want to say, I was so nervous when we were asked to lead this, but I had no reason to be, because you guys have been absolutely attentive, so professional, so engaged, and so thoughtful that it has made it so pleasurable. I'm still nervous every time I have to do something like this, because I wanted to give it my best. So I just want to say I appreciate your time, your participation, your collaboration. Spending 90 minutes 3 times is not a little bit of your time. You can never get that time back. You had to listen to me a whole lot. And so just know that you are so appreciated. And this work does not go forward without having a student here, like bravo, from students to teacher, principals to KBE, EPSB, all people that have busy lives and busy schedules. But you spent time with me, so I'm appreciative. Thank you.
Thanks, Vida.
You
Thanks,
did a
everybody.
great job, Vida. Thank you for this.
So you will hear from me. Remember, by the end of the week, I hope to have something to you. And then for a week, you will not hear from me. And then we'll come back. And then we'll come back together, and hopefully all 3 groups can have this healthy, robust conversation that we've had in our committee. So if there's nothing else, I will stay here for a minute if anybody has any questions or any further comments, but you are free. You are free.
Thank you.